All right, hey guys, welcome to the meeting. Today we're going to be covering 4 things seniors are concerned about and how to eliminate objections. Let me turn my blues music off. I'm working from home today. I live here in Conyers, Georgia. It's about 40 miles east of Marietta, which is Georgia, where my office is at. I try and work at home 2-3 days a week and go in the office 2-3 days a week. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping. This webinar is scheduled for an hour and a half, so we're going to try and get done in about an hour. It's kind of like I would tell my customers when they say how long is this going to take. Well, I already know. It depends on how many questions you have. I already know the product, so we'll try and get it done in about an hour or so. But I'm going to save time for question and answers when we get done. It is being recorded, so sometime in 24 hours after we do this webinar, everybody will get an email with a link to the recording. The chat box is open, so you can enter your questions in there. I'll try to address as we go through, although I will probably most of your questions I will take at the end. But I do want to make this interactive, so I will be asking you questions and ask you to type some answers in the box, and if you would, I would appreciate that. I do want to tell you that for those who stay on to the end, I have an offer for you as a result of coming from Insurance WebEx, and it's going to be an offer that involves me being able to help you personally with your script, as well as getting access to some of the principles we're going to talk about today. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lloyd I started with John Hancock in 1977. I was a debit agent. I was with a combined insurance company. I've been with Physicians Mutual of Omaha. I've run the career shop for a large Midwest insurance company, American Republic. I've run my own agency, and the last few years I've been heavy into training. So I've been interviewed by Eric Gordon with the Well Channel. I've been interviewed by Scott Drake with Annuity News Now. I write a number of articles for industry-related magazines. I've been doing that for years. In fact, that's how I first started working with the guys who run Insurance WebEx. They own Life Insurance Selling Magazine, Senior Market Advisor magazines, and many others. My first article I did for them was, I think it was before 2004. So I've had some kind of interaction with the guys that run Insurance WebEx for a long, long time. They're great people that really know what they're doing. If you're not involved with them, you need to sign up for them because they have the cream of the crop. And one of the things they offer you is mentors. So this presentation today is brought to you by Insurance WebEx. I'm fortunate enough to be considered one of the mentors on their site. So if you click right here on the left-hand side of their site, Mentors, you'll see the whole list of mentors they have. So you've got Steve Savant. He is well known in the industry. He's the top contributor to Producers Web, which the guys who run Insurance WebEx actually started. He's the top contributor there. Got great articles, got a great radio show. You should check him out. Anytime Kevin Hogan is doing a webinar, you've got to hook up with him. I've learned so much about what words mean and how those words are important to your interaction with your prospects. And he's got some great content. Another person that I'm very familiar with is Bill Harris. When I was helping run a career shop for American Public Insurance Company, we brought him in to do annuity training for the career people and independents. And a lot of what I do on the annuities, I actually took from him. You steal from the best. So he's a great guy. Bill Cates down here, in the third row to the right, he's got a webinar coming up next week with Insurance WebEx. He's the referral coach. And let me tell you something. He and I both belong to the National Speaker Association. I run one of the meetings for our Georgia chapter here, and we had him in earlier this year. And this is a great guy, super content, knows his stuff. If you want to know how to get referrals, you have got to sign up for his webinar. He's got that going on, I think, January 5th. Anyway, anytime you see Bill Cates on here, you need to sign up for that. I've got some of his training material on my membership website. He and I are going to be doing some stuff together next year. So if we're in your local area, if I'm in your local area doing a meeting or putting on an event or something, I encourage you to join us. And then I'm down here on the left-hand side. So if you click on my name, Lloyd Lofton, you'll see my bio. You'll see some blogs that I have up there for you. There's a few videos, Today we're going to talk about the sales script for Medicare Supplement and how to eliminate. And what we're going to do is we're going to prevent objections from coming up. But handling objections is a big conflict for a lot of salespeople. So there's a couple of videos on there. They're only like 2-minute vignette videos or less, and they will cover some of the basics that will kind of give you an idea of what my philosophy is and some of the things you can learn if you choose to take advantage of the offer I'm going to make you today from my membership website. So let's go ahead and get started. What I want to do is I'm going to take a drink of coffee here. What I want to do today is I want to start off by doing a profile of your typical senior clients. So I'm going to start off with a husband and wife, a man and woman. Let's say that the male is 65, and on average, not all the time, but on average, if the male's 65, about how old is his wife? 62, 63 years old. So do we know when he ages into this next phase of his life, retirement years, do we know what he's going to do? Because I think we have a little bit of idea. Keep in mind, this is the baby boomer generation. Starting in January of 2011, these individuals begin turning 65. And over the next 18 years, you're going to have some 78 million people enter this phase of their life. This is the baby boomer generation. The baby boomer generation started in 1946 and extended to 1964. And during that 18-year period of time, they all experienced life cycle events at the same time. They came home from World War II. They bought houses. Had babies. They bought baby cribs. They bought tricycles. They had kids go through elementary school, junior high, high school. They used the hula hoop. They watched bandstand. They watched the Beverly Hillbillies. They watched all the same shows together. They experienced the same lifestyle issues together. So I say that this is the most studied market in a generation. We know more about what this target group of people have done and will do than any other group that's been studied in history. So let's look at what I call predictable buying behaviors. There are 3 things someone aging into retirement, when they turn 65 or 66, depending on when you're born, there's 3 things they're going to do almost without exception. He's going to sign up for Social Security. So either at 65 or 66, depending on, like I'm 62, so my Social Security qualification would be age 66 and a half. He's going to sign up for Social Security. When he signs up for Social Security, he's going to automatically be enrolled in Medicare. In fact, if he chooses to work, he will, if he enrolls online, he'll have to click a radio button and opt out of Medicare Part B to continue working and have Medicare Part A. And we know that 80% of these individuals are going to get some kind of supplement. Whether it's a Medicare supplement or Med Advantage plan, we know they're going to get a supplement. But just knowing these 3 things, let's kind of look, without even have met or talked to the prospect, let's look at what we already know about them. Now, one of the things I would tell you is keep these predictable buying behaviors in mind when you think about putting your marketing plan together. In 2017, you should already have your marketing plan together so you know what market you're going to approach, how you're going to approach that market, what your message is going to be, how you're going to get a response from them, and you should have a vendor set up in order to do that with. I recommend Target Leads. I've known Richard Buffkin, the owner of it, for a long time. I use him frequently. I refer to him all the time. They do a great job of it, and one of the reasons I recommend them is because there's a few things they do that others won't do. They will tell you which of their mailing pieces gets the best response. So they know. They're the cream of the crop here. They do thousands, millions of mailings every year. They know which ones get the response from people. And the next thing you need to know is which zip codes are the best zip codes for you to market into. And they'll tell you where your seniors are at by zip code. They'll tell you which zip codes get the best responses. When you get those response cards back, you organize them by the zip code and the routing number. You know, the zip code, like my zip code is 30094. But the zip codes come with another 4 digits at the end of it, 30094-4869. So 30094 tells the postman that the mail comes to Conyers, Georgia. The last four digits, 3694, tells them that it's in the Honey Creek subdivision. So when you organize your response cards that way, you work more efficiently, and they can help you with that. So we know there's three things that he's going to do almost without exception. He's going to sign up for Social Security. He'll automatically be enrolled in Medicare. And 80% are going to get some kind of supplement. So let's look at what do we know about this prospect, since we know these three things about them. At least 80% of them are going to do this. Now, everything I tell you today is going to be on that 80% rule. And the reason I stick with that 80% principle is because I learned from Bob Thurston with Combined Insurance Company years ago. Do you think you should learn a presentation the way you want to sell, or the presentation the way 80% of your prospects buy? My counsel to you is learn a presentation the way 80% of your prospects buy. Learn a working system that produces results by getting you in front of qualified prospects 80% of the time. So let's look at what we already know about these people. I know this. When they sign up for Medicare, 80% are going to get a supplement. And I know what that supplement's going to cost because it's filed in every state, isn't it? Whether it's a MedSup or Med Advantage plan, they're filed in every state. So we already know what it's going to cost. We know where they're going to get the money from to pay for it. If it's a husband and wife, they've been paying for health insurance for more than 30 years. Even if they've got group coverage, they're paying for dependent coverage. So we already know they've got the money in their monthly disposable budget. We know that when he signs up for Social Security, he's automatically enrolled in Medicare, and he gets that supplement. He's going to reposition that money he's already paying for his health insurance to pay for that supplement. And I always tell salespeople, you need to help your prospect solve a problem at the time you have the most influence over them. And that's 3 times. That's when you help them solve a problem by making a purchase from you, when the policy is delivered, and when you're doing a service call. So right now you have the most influence over the prospect. So I would tell you, now the reason I'm telling you this is because they already have the premium dollars in their budget. So what's going to happen is he's going to reposition the money he's already paying for health insurance. He's going to, if they're paying $8,000 to $12,000 a year for health coverage now, if not more. They're going to reposition $1,500, $1,800, $2,000 out of that, depending on what state they're in, to get that supplement. Now, that means that they have money left. Now, when he comes off of his group health plan or their individual health plan, his wife's going to have to get her own health insurance plan. So that creates an additional market for you and an opportunity to pick up what I call wallet share. You don't want to leave premium dollars laying on the table in the house because that opens the door for another salesman to come in. You don't want some idiot like me coming in behind you because I'm going to take the health insurance business for his wife and I'm going to get your MedSup business. So you want to make sure you capture all that wallet share in the house. And you want to use the premium dollars they're already spending. So if they're spending $8,000 to $12,000 a year or more for health insurance and they reposition $1,500, $1,800, or $2,000 in the MedSup, that's the perfect time to package it file expense. And I'm going to show you why that's a perfect time to do that. Let's look at the wife for a second. When the husband comes off of that health plan they have, whether it's group or an individual, the wife's going to need to get her own standalone health plan. So it's more often than not, she's a little bit younger than him. So you can help her with a major med or a simplified issue plan. You can package it with an accident rider and a critical illness rider. You've already got the premium dollars to pay for it because you're going to take the money that they've got left that they're still paying for health insurance. So if you've taken $2,000 out and they're spending $12,000 a year, you got $10,000 for health insurance. That's going to run her probably somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 a year. You've got money left over to pay for that final expense product. So at age 65, she's going to age into Medicare, right? That means that you pick up more wallet share and you pick up an additional client in that home because you own the home. Now let's look at what their situation is. When he retires, if you go to socialsecurity.gov, on average, the Social Security check on average around the country is $1,341. The average retirement from work, if you go to socialsecurity.gov again, is about $1,200. That means their household income, just from him and his retirement, is about $2,500 a month. Now, the spouse typically has a Social Security of around $900 a month. Again, that comes from socialsecurity.gov. But because these are their lifestyle and their life cycle issues are predictable, we already know what's going to happen. Most people's peer group is within 5 years of their age. So you'll find that someone who's 65 or 66 years old, they already know somebody who's 70 years old. They already know somebody who's gotten on Social Security, automatically been enrolled in Medicare, and has some kind of supplement. That means that they most likely already know somebody where one of the spouses passed away. And that's predictable. This isn't anything that's a surprise. Sometimes the only person that's a surprise to is an insurance agent. But people know this. Men tend to not live as long as their spouses. The wife outlives the husband. So we know that sometime in the next 15 to 18 years that he's going to pass away, on average. I mean, we're just going statistically. Now, when this happens, when he passes away, she's going to have a choice to make. She can choose to keep his Social Security, which is usually higher than hers, or she can choose to take her Social Security. Now, what do you think she's going to do? If you said that she's going to keep his Social Security, I would agree with you. But again, let's look at predictable behaviors. When she makes the choice to take his Social Security, what's the other choice she's making? Isn't she also choosing to give up her Social Security? That means in the first year that her husband passes away, the most emotionally devastating time in her life, she's making a conscious decision to live on $10,800 a year less income. At a time she can not only ill afford it, but she's not going to be in the emotional position to make good financial decisions. You have an opportunity to show them how to reposition the money they're already spending in package of final expense at the time you're talking to them about the issues that are most important to them. And that's one of the biggest thing we're going to get in today, are the 4 things that concern seniors the most. And we're going to talk about how to use questions to reduce and eliminate the chance for objections to come up. But I just wanted to do an overview of what that senior market is so that we know where the low-hanging fruit is. So we already, somebody aging into Social Security, and somebody aging into this next phase of retirement, we already know what they're going to do. We know when they're going to do it. We know what product they're going to buy. We know how much that product costs, and we know where they're going to get the money from. I mean, what other target market do you have where you know so much about a prospect before you even contact them? So let's move on with this. Over a 10-year period of time, she's going to lose over $108,000 in income. So when you take the lifestyle and the life cycle issues that are going to happen to this family, this is the conversation you should be having with people. People are not interested in the product or the price. People buy on emotion and they're moved to action by logic. So the product and the price only play into this after you've already got them emotionally involved in the product. I wrote an article on this called the Retirement Prequel. You can get it from Insurance Newsnet, and it goes through everything that we just talked about here. So I said there's 4 things that seniors are concerned about. The primary concerns for the 76 or 78 million individuals that are aging into the retirement over the next 18 years is managing the cost of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering at home after a procedure, and not leaving a financial burden for the family. Now, for your sake, the idea of a recovering at home after a procedure, that means short-term or long-term care. Not leaving a financial burden for the family or leaving a legacy for their family is final expense. And I'm going to show you how to craft questions that uncover these things here. These are the things that matter most to people. You're going to ask questions so the prospect's answer tells you what their dominant buying motive is. And then you're going to use that dominant buying motive to feed back to them with a tie-down question and a trial close that will help them design their own plan. And the reason you want to do that, this isn't like a little trick or a scheme that you're going to do with them. It's a psychological principle that allows you to ask questions that open their mind, that engages their life experiences. Now, here's the thing I like about working with seniors. They have a whole lifetime of experiences. They have been married and divorced. They've had houses and lost houses. They've had cars and lost cars. They've had jobs and lost jobs. Some have had kids and lost kids. They understand the importance of transferring financial risk from themselves to an insurance company. But here's the thing. If you want to make more, you have to get better. If you, in 2017, if you use the same approach you used the last year, if you use the same script you used in the last year, if you use the same presentation you used in the last year, if you use the same clothes in the last year, to the consumer, who are you? You're just another agent, right? So if you, in 2017, if you want the consumer to see you as different, then you have to be different. You have to do something different. The traditional approach is just not going to work. If you use the traditional approach of I can save you money on your premium, I can get you the best rate, I can explain Medicare to you, you're going to sound like every other price-hocking, product-hocking salesperson. So what I counsel you to do is find a way to set yourself up as being different. And we're going to look at an example of being different. We're going to look at your own buying behavior, and we're going to look at how you view people when you make purchases, and we're going to see what's predictable here. So think about when you're not feeling well, you go to the doctor, and you describe your symptoms to the doctor. And you tell the doctor, I've got a sniffles, I've got a little bit of a fever, a runny nose, my stomach hurts, my side hurts. He puts a stethoscope on you, takes your blood pressure, takes your temperature. Then after you describe your symptoms to him, he says, okay, I know what's wrong with you. Pete, you can have this medicine, or you can have this medicine, or you can have this medicine, or you can have this medicine. Which medicine do you want? You don't feel good. You go to Dr. B, and you describe your symptoms to him. And Dr. B says, okay, I know what's wrong with you. And he writes your prescription, hands it to you, and he says, take this twice a day, come back and see me in 10 days. Now tell me which doctor you have more confidence in. Just type it into your chat box there. Yeah, B. Yeah, absolutely. Frank, I agree with you. B. Everybody's saying B. Of course, you have more confidence in Dr. B. Now, why do you have more confidence in Dr. B? What did you go to the doctor for? You went to the doctor to describe your symptoms, and what did you expect the doctor to do? Did you expect him to diagnose the problem and prescribe a solution? So the doctor that gives you choices, you can have this medicine, you have this medicine, you have this medicine, you have this medicine, is not the doctor that builds confidence, is it? The doctor that diagnosed the problem and prescribes a solution is the one that builds confidence. Here's my question to you. Are you going to be Dr. A in 2017, or are you going to be Dr. B? My counsel to you is to be Dr. B. And the reason you should be Dr. B is because Dr. B is the one that people have confidence in. So how do you have the conversation? What should your conversation be like with the prospect? Well, what I would tell you, understanding the principles of predictable buying behaviors and knowing the things that concern the seniors the most, is to talk to them about the things they use the most in the order they use those things. Keep in mind, people like two things. They like to hear their name, and they like to have their opinion asked. So what you want to talk to people about isn't the product and the price. That makes you sound like every other salesperson. Not that the product and the price isn't important, but there's a time to tell and there's a time to sell. Right now, what you're doing is you're selling the problem. And what I would tell you is the four things that seniors are concerned about is managing the costs of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering at home after a procedure, and not leaving a financial burden to your family. That is what the conversation should be like. So what we're going to do is we're going to move to looking at a script. But before we look at the script and the questions that you would ask a prospect, we need to understand a little bit more about the principles of the sales relationship. And I'm going to do that by having a look at what we do as consumers ourselves. So keep in mind, I said, don't sell me something. The thing is a product or a price. Solve me something. And what you're solving are the problems, the things that people want to solve. The product is what solves it. So you have to sell the problem. You have to get people to engage in the problem. You have to get people to engage in the thing that matters the most to them and talk to them about the things they use the most in the order they use it. Okay, let's take an example of a buying behavior that we all engage in. Keep in mind, if you want to make more, you have to get better. If you use the same approach, same script, the same presentation, and the same clothes you've used in the past, then who are you to the consumer? If you make the same choices in 2017 you made in 2016, you're going to end up in the exact same place. So if you're on this call today because you want to figure out how to do better in 2017, then you have to do something different. You want the consumer to see you as different, you have to be different. Now, one of the things I'm going to offer at the end of this is I'm going to make an offer of you for a couple of my courses. So you can go to 7-Figure Sales Tools, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to work with me directly on your sales script. One of the courses you're going to have an opportunity to get is the sales scripts. There's 22 scripts inside there, and that's including the senior scripts, including life insurance scripts, and some scripts in non-insurance related industries to show you the psychology of putting scripts together. But we're going to talk about that towards the end here. So let's look at this buying behavior, and let's figure out how we can help the prospect capture their emotional connection with the problems that bother them the most. And we're going to do that by talking about your own buying behavior. So everyone's gone to a car dealer before, right? You've all bought a car from a car dealer. So what happens is you go into the car dealer, and the car salesman comes up and says, "Can I help you?" Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. Car salesman, "Can I help you?" And you say, "No, I'm just looking," right? Now, did you lie to him? Because what I'll tell you is any salesperson that gets upset because the prospect told him something that turned out to be different or not accurate, and we have that philosophy that the buyers are liars, that they lie to us, that really it may not be a lie. I mean, you didn't intentionally lie to the car salesman, right? I mean, the car dealership is a destination shop, isn't it? I mean, it's not like you're driving down the street and you say to your wife, "Oh, what the heck, let's pull in here and look at the car." It's usually because you've made a decision to go look at a car to replace your car. So when we tell the car salesman, "I'm just looking," what we're really saying, isn't it? It's not that we're not interested in buying. I mean, that's why we're there, to look at the car. It's that we don't want to be sold, right? I mean, what we want to do is we want to find a car in our own space, in our own time, without feeling the pressure of someone pushing us to buy. The reason we say, "I'm just looking," is because we don't want to be sold. This is called a cue. The cue is the car salesman says, "Can I help you?" And we go into our routine. Our routine is to say, "No, I'm just looking." And the reason we do that routine is we've been trained that we get a reward because the car salesman says, "Well, come and get me if you have any questions." So our reward is that they don't pressure us. But we have to think about this, and we're going to talk about this more as we go through our script and our presentation. We have to think about this as it relates to how we make purchases ourselves. So we're at the car dealer. Car salesman says, "Can I help you?" We go, "No, I'm just looking." Now you pick out a car, and you're going to take it for a test drive. Now, the irony of the test drive, I've always thought the test drive was an interesting concept. Because when you're test driving a car, what are you actually testing? I mean, when you get the car out on the road, you pull it over, get out, open the trunk, get the jack up the rear end of the car, take the left rear wheel off, and then check out the anti-lock brakes? Of course not. You don't go around the front of the car, open the hood, and take off the manifold and check to make sure the pistons are working, the catalytic converter's working, right? So what are we testing? Well, here's what I would submit to you. Before you left the dealer, you and the car salesman are sitting in the car, did you adjust anything in the car? Just right there in your chat box, type in if you adjusted any of the things. I mean, what are some of the things that you adjust before you take that car for a test drive? Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, Frankie. So you adjust the mirror, right, the side mirrors. That's right, the radio. I adjust the air conditioning. My wife will adjust the seat or the tilt steering. Yeah, that's true. Michelle, I agree with you. So you adjust the seats. Yeah, so what you do is you adjust the things you use the most, like the radio, the mirror, or the seat. You adjust the things you use the most in the order you use those things. Now, why are you adjusting those things? You're right, Frank. You're adjusting those things to make the car fit you, to make it comfortable for you, to see if you feel like the car's a fit, and if you're comfortable in the car. You test drive the car to see if the car feels comfortable to you. Does it steer right, the way you are comfortable steering? Can you see the lines in the road correctly? Is the rearview mirror and the sight in the back correctly? You're checking to make sure that that car is comfortable, and you adjust the things you use the most in the order you use them to fit you. Now you're back at the dealership, and where does the car salesman have you park the car? Then he have you park the car right next to yours. And the reason for that is he wants you to see what a piece of crap you're driving, right? Now you get out of the car, and then where do you go? You go inside the dealership with the car salesman? Of course you do. You go inside the dealership, you sit down at his cubicle. Now here's my question for you. Are you going inside the dealership to discuss which car to buy? Or are you going inside the dealership to discuss how much you're paying for that car? If you say that you're going inside to discuss how much you're paying for that car, what I would submit to you is that you've already taken emotional ownership over that car. Remember, I said people buy on emotion, they're moved to action by logic. So you've already taken emotional ownership over that car. In your mind, you already see yourself owning that car. So you're discussing how much you're going to pay for that car. That's why I say to you that people aren't interested in your product or price until they have taken emotional ownership over the solution. So the question becomes, how do you help your prospects adjust the insurance product to fit them? Because when you go inside to talk to that car salesman, you're going in there to discuss how much you're paying for that car. And more often than not, you leave the dealer spending more than you said we were going to spend and with a higher payment than you said you were going to pay. So the question is, if that is a common, predictable buying behavior for you, isn't it reasonable to think that that's a predictable buying behavior for most people? And my experience is, and your experience might be different, but my experience is that 80% of people like to adjust a product to fit them. But that's the challenge, isn't it? How do you get the insurance company, how do you get the prospect to adjust the product to fit you? Well, let's talk about that. The biggest way is to learn to ask questions. If you've been in sales for any amount of time, I know you've heard a lot about asking questions. We've all been to trainings and watched training videos, or we've read books about the WH questions. And WH questions are extremely important. The what, why, where, when, who, and how questions help you bond with the prospect. It gives the prospect the opportunity to disclose information to you. Keep in mind, what do questions do? Questions gather information from the prospect. Objections, which so many salespeople are terrified of objections, which I find is funny. I go out and field train salespeople all the time, and they'll hear an objection like, I want to think about it. And you can see them stuttering like they're not sure what the response should be. And I don't understand, if you've been in sales for 2 years or 10 years or 20 years, haven't you heard that objection like 999 times? You should have your rebuttal down already. It should be an integrated part of your sales personality. Keep in mind, questions gather information, objections disclose information. WH questions are great. They're important to have. They help open up the conversation with the prospect and give you insight into their thinking and what their concerns are. Are there other questions, though, that can help you let the prospect adjust to your product to fit them? And I think there is. And that is the tie-down questions. A tie-down question is usually used at the end of a sentence. We ask a tie-down question because generally, not all the time, but we already know the answer. We at least know the category that answer is going to fall in. And they're most commonly used, number one, to get agreements on small points. Just like you went into the car dealer. What happens is that you already made emotionally own that car, and now you're discussing how much you're paying for that car. People buy on emotion or move to action by logic. And here's what I'm going to tell you. People don't catch logic. People catch enthusiasm. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more as we go forward. But we close on a small point. People make buying decisions on small points, not big points. You want to use tie-down questions when you already know the answers to be yes, and you're going to see how we can frame questions where we already know what the answer is going to be. We at least know the category that answer is going to fall in. And you ask tie-down questions to get and give acknowledgement from the prospect, to validate them so that they feel like you understand what their perception is, what their needs are, what solutions they're looking for. So many salespeople spend a lot of their emotional energy with the prospect trying to make sure that they're understood. You want to make sure that the customer understands the product and understands what you're trying to do for them. And I'm not saying that's not important. That is important. But what I'm putting out there for you to consider is it may be more important that you're understanding of what their concerns are, of what their needs are, before it's important that they understand what solution you're presenting. And there's a way to ask tie-down questions and use a trial close to get them to disclose the things that matter the most to them, to take ownership over the things that matter most to them, and help you close a minor point. So let's look at how we do that. A tie-down question can be done in a variety of ways. You use the tie-down questions to invert a sentence. An example would be many progressive companies are using computers today, aren't they? So where's the tie-down? It's at the end of the sentence, aren't they? That inverts into, aren't a lot of companies using computers today? And their answer would be, well, yeah. Another way of using that tie-down is it would be great to have an advanced computer, wouldn't it? So we're going to use tie-downs to get engagement from the prospect that the solutions we're talking to them about and the problems we're going to help them solve are the ones that matter the most to them. Remember, we said there's 4 basic things that consumers are concerned about, the seniors are concerned about. Managing the cost of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering at home after a procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for their family. So another way to be this would be sometimes change or add an extra word or 2 words to help smooth out the sentence. It also makes it easier to deliver your message. So I go back to it again. Wouldn't it be great to have an advanced computer? There's another tie-down question that works really well, and that's the inverted tie-down question. So I'm going to give you an example. There's 3 different forms of the tie-down question, the standard form, the inverted, and the internal form. So we've already done the standard form, but I'm going to read the example so we can see how the inverted tie-down would work. When you work with a new customer, you should try for several minor yeses before you go to the big yes at the close. Wouldn't you agree? So the tie-down part there is wouldn't you agree, right? If I inverted it, I would put the wouldn't you agree at the beginning. Wouldn't you agree that you should try for several minor yeses before you go for the big yes at the close? Now, the reason you want to use the inverted sometimes is because it can almost sound like you're interrogating somebody if you don't switch it up. But who wants to have a conversation with somebody who keeps saying, wouldn't it, wouldn't it, wouldn't it? So you want to be able to tie it, to switch it up so that it doesn't sound like an interrogation. Another way of switching it up is to use the informal form, the internal form. So that would be when you work with a new customer, wouldn't you agree that you should try for several minor yeses before you go for the big yes at the close? So we've looked at the WH questions, what, why, where, when, who, and how. We looked at the standard form of tie-down, which is at the end of the sentence. We looked at the inverted tie-down, which is at the beginning of the sentence. And we looked at an example of an internal tie-down, where we put in the middle of the sentence. Let's see if we can kind of bring this together and see how this works. Now, what I would tell you, and this is where we're getting into the meat and potatoes of it. If you haven't got your pen and pencil out or paper out, you need to do that right now. Keep in mind it's being recorded. You're going to get an email in the next 24 hours with a copy of this recording, but you might want to make some notes on this. I think there's a difference. And listen, scripts are important. It's important to have a script that outlines the roadmap that you need to follow. It helps you stay on point. I've done the same thing today right here on my paper. I'm making sure that I hit all the points when I start the meeting and when I end the meeting. So a script's great. It keeps you on track. But the sales relationship isn't about the script. We don't ask questions to respond. We ask questions to understand. And now what I'm going to show you is a way to ask questions that helps the prospect disclose which of the 4 things matters most to them, and then how to use a tie-down question and a trial close to get them to emotionally own that product, just like you did. You adjust the steering wheel, you adjust the side view mirror, the radio, you adjust the seat to make the car fit you so that you could be comfortable in the car, like Peter said. Then you took that car for a test drive. You came back from the test drive, you got out of the car and you went inside the dealership to sit down and talk to the car salesman. You didn't go in there to talk about which car you're buying. You didn't went in there to discuss how much you're paying for that car. And that's what we're going to do with questions. We're going to ask questions to uncover which of the 4 main things people are concerned about, and we're going to take that answer and we're going to figure out which product they're more likely to see as a solution. Could be Medicare Supplement, could be MedAdvantage, because that's the examples we're using in this webinar. And we're going to talk about questions that actually drop that down in the funnel and show us how to get to that point. And then we're going to look at how to pivot to the close. I'm not doing the whole close today. That's a whole separate training. but how to pivot to that close. So here we go. Let's get started. So the first question that I would ask, we'll use Mary as an example. Mary, let me ask you a question. As you age, do you think you get more healthy or less healthy? Now you'll notice in this question, the words that are bolded and in black, I emphasize. I use voice inflection on. So whether you're selling on the phone or in person, if you're selling on the phone, what tools do you have to sell on the phone? The only tools you have available to you are your words, your tone of voice, your voice inflection, your elevation of your voice, the pitch of your voice. That's the only tools you have available. And questions. So we want to use all the tools at our resources. When you're selling belly to belly, if you're at someone's kitchen table or someone's office, you have the opportunity to use the environment. You can use the bowling trophy they have out. You can watch body language, facial expressions. You can have your environment to add to the voice tools that you have. So it's important that we use all the tools at our disposal so that we come across as Dr. B, not Dr. A. So as we go through these questions, and I'm going to ask you, if I ask you that question, if I said to you, now, Michelle, as you age, do you think you get more healthy or less healthy? Now, type your response in there and tell me which one you would think. Yeah, some of you are already saying less healthy. Absolutely. And here's the thing. I learned to ask questions that I already know the answer to. Now, the great thing about asking questions that I already know the answer to is my next question is already set up. The same way with rebuttals. Rebuttals are not designed to overcome the prospect. Let me ask you a question. Do you do better when you feel better or you feel bad? Most people say they do better when they feel better. Do you do better when you feel better or feel bad? And most people say they do better when they feel better. Do you feel better when you win or when you lose? Of course, when you win, right? So here's my question. If you do better when you feel better and you feel better when you win, why would you ever want your prospect to be wrong? Objections disclose information. Questions gather information. Objections disclose information. Your rebuttal, and we go through a whole handling objections training on this. Your rebuttal is designed to help you understand what the prospect is saying, not just what they said, and give you the chance to ask questions that gather more information so you can use those answers to use trial closes to help them close on minor points and buy your solution. So I'm going to show you how this works here. So I say, Mary, as you age, do you think you get more healthy or less healthy? You see how I bolded those words? Do you think you get more healthy or less healthy? And Mary comes back and says, well, you get less healthy. You know, I agree. But let me ask you this. As you get less healthy, do you believe that your medical expenses will become more expensive or less expensive? So go ahead and type in your answer there. What do you think? Are they going to get more expensive or less expensive? While you're typing it in, I want to point out the words in black and bolded are the ones you emphasize. Now, when I emphasize the word more, you notice I stretched it out. When I emphasize the word less, I made it shorter. So, Mary, as you get less healthy, do you believe that your medical expenses will be more expensive or less expensive? You see how I stretched more out? More expensive or less expensive? I'm going to emphasize the word to get an emotional connection so that they start experiencing the things they went through in the past. Remember, the great thing about seniors, they already have a lifetime of experiences. They've already had medical issues in their family. They've already had people with surgery, people died. So I want them to actually relive that emotional experience a little bit so that we can start projecting what's going to happen with them in the future and design a solution that's going to be best for them now and in the future. So you're right. A lot of you wrote down less expensive, of course. That's absolutely true. So as you get less healthy, do you believe your medical expenses will be more expensive or less expensive? Is that what you're planning on? Now, what I love about the question, is that what you're planning on, is the way to tie down the emotional experience of what they're looking for as they go forward in their life is to have them not only take ownership over it, but to give you an opportunity to see if they're already thinking of other ways to solve this problem. So I'm going to show you how this works. Now, you'll notice here, my rebuttal's already built in. What plans do you have to manage these growing medical expenses as you age? But notice, is that what you're planning on? Let me just show you the difference in the phraseology here. So here I say, is that what you're planning on? I don't do any voice inflection, right? I don't emphasize any words there. And see how flat it sounds? Is that what you're planning on? See how flat and unemotional it sounds? But when I emphasize the word that, it changes the whole feeling. Mary, let me ask you this then. As you get less healthy, do you believe that your medical expenses will become more expensive or less expensive? Well, Lord, I'm sure they're going to become more expensive. Is that what you're planning on? See how I take the question mark and add it to the that and create an emotion for them and a response to them? Is that what you're planning on? The great thing about this question is it doesn't matter what their answer is. I already know what their answer is, one of three things. Well, yeah, I mean, what choice do I have? I'm going to get more expensive. Well, I really wasn't planning on having more medical expenses, or, I guess I didn't think about that. I mean, I already know the category their answer is going to fall in. So my question, my response is already planned out. I already have it done. It's an integrated part of my sales personality. There's nothing they can come up with that I don't already have the answer to. Again, it's like being a lawyer. You don't ask a question you don't already know the answer to. But Mary, what plans do you have to manage those growing medical expenses as you age? I want to hear what their thinking is. Remember, questions gather information, objections disclose information. So I want to hear what they already think is a solution. Because if I hear, when my brother-in-law sells insurance, or my cousins and if I hear any of that kind of stuff, maybe I'm not going to go on with the presentation. If they have, a lot of people are going to tell you, well, I can already afford to pay for that. We hear that a lot of times. But this uncovers the objections. The reason we get objections at the end of the sales presentation is because we didn't uncover them during the sales presentation, and we don't integrate them into our questions. The questions I'm showing you here help eliminate objections because they incorporate what could be the 4 basic objections into the presentation. No money, no need, no hurry, and no confidence. Mary, what plans do you have to manage those growing medical expenses as you age? So I'm going to get their thinking on this. Now I'm going to move on to the next category. The next category of questions. Mary, now let me ask you this. Why do you have health insurance? Do you have health insurance for your best health year or your worst health year? Now what I like about this question is it takes what people consider to be the norm, the thing they take for granted, and it draws it into focus as to why they would use health insurance, how they've accessed it in the past, how they expect access it in the future. And we're going to match it up with their recognition that as they age, they get less healthy. As they get less healthy, health insurance becomes more expensive. They don't really have a plan for that, but they know they should have a plan for that. Now we're pivoting to, why do you have health insurance? So Mary, let me ask you this. Why do you have health insurance? Do you have health insurance for your best health year or your worst health year? What would you guys say? Type in there the chat box and tell me what you think. Yeah, of course, your worst health year. Who would have health insurance for your best health year? You have it for your worst health year, right? Now, Mary, in your worst health year, are you expecting to pay out of pocket for medical care, or do you see an insurance company paying those growing medical expenses at some point? Notice here I introduced this idea that they can transfer this financial risk to an insurance company. What I'm doing is I'm tapping into the life cycle experiences they've already had. They've already had a car wreck and filed a claim. They've already had a health issue and filed a claim. They already know the value of transferring their financial risk to an insurance company. And so that's what I'm going to build in here. But I also emphasized a few things. So Mary, in your worst health year, are you expecting, notice how the voice inflection, are you expecting to pay out of your pocket for medical care? Or do you see an insurance company, notice how I emphasize the word insurance company, paying these growing medical expenses? See how I slowed down these growing medical expenses at some point? See how I shrugged the shoulders at some point? Recognizing that they may not want an insurance company to pay all of it because we haven't gotten into the premium yet. But I just want to see what their thinking is. How are they already programmed? What is their buying behavior? What is predictable? I'm setting cues out here so I can get what their routine is. And then understanding what their routine is, I'm going to reward them by helping them design a solution that they feel like will best meet their needs. So they give me their answer. I'm going to say, let's go back to that. So, and they say, well, yeah, I want the insurance company to pay for it. So, well, let me ask you this question. How do you prefer to access health care? So we've established the base. As they age, they get less healthy. As they get less healthy, their medical expenses become more expensive. They're not really sure what their plan is to manage more expensive medical care. The reason they have health insurance is for their worst health year, and at some point they want the insurance company to pay most of their medical bills. So now we're going to break this down. This is where I drop them in a funnel, and we kind of figure out whether we're going to be talking about a Med Sup or a Med Advantage. Well, Mary, let me ask you this. How do you prefer to access health care? Do you need to manage your monthly budget? You don't get sick very often. You don't mind seeing a doctor in a network. You're willing to pay some out of your pocket each time you see a doctor or have a procedure or you're hospitalized in order to have your premium a little bit lower. Or do you want to be able to go to any doctor, hospital, or clinic anywhere in the country who accepts Medicare assignment, which most of them do, show your benefit card, receive your medical care, leave, and never see a bill? Which way do you prefer to access health care? Now, notice the words that are bolded there. So I'm emphasizing two different buying behaviors. So one of them, they're going to say, yeah, I don't get sick very often. I don't mind paying a little bit out of my pocket to keep the premium down. And the other one, they say, yeah, that's right. I want to be able to go to any doctor anywhere in the country. I want to just show my benefit card, receive my medical care, leave, and I don't ever want to see a bill. I want to identify that type of buying behavior, and I want the prospect to disclose to me through their answer that that's the way they prefer to buy health care. Remember, we said there's 4 things that they're mainly concerned about: managing the cost of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering home after procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for their family. Don't get confused. It sounds like 5. It's 4. So it's managing the cost of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering home after a procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for their family. So let's look how this plays out. Mary, which way do you prefer to access health care? Now, what we've done here is we have set the stage. We have now discussed the concept that as they age, they get less healthy. We've tied it to the realization that as you get less healthy, your medical expenses become more expensive. We've associated it with the reason you have health insurance, which is in your worst health year. And we've tied it down to their past experience in buying behavior with their future expectations. And that is that they need to manage their budget. They're not sick very often. They don't mind paying a little bit out of their pocket in order to keep the premium down, or that the premium's not that big of a deal. They just want to be able to go to any doctor, hospital, clinic anywhere in the country, show their benefit card, receive their medical care, leave, and never see a bill. So we've set that down. The stage is now set. The only thing left for me to do is figure out which of the 4 things they're concerned the most about, so I can help them design the plan, Med Sup or Med Advantage, that will meet that need. And how we do that? It's an easy, very simple question. In fact, I've been telling you this since we started this call. And now I'm going to reveal to you what the question is, because we've already talked about it. You don't realize we've talked about it, but this is how subtle it is. Now, Mary, when you think about managing, remember the last thing I said here is which way do you prefer to access health care? So Mary says, yeah, we want to be able to keep our doctor. We don't want to be in a network. We want to be able to just show our benefit card, get our medical care, and leave and not see a bill. That's what we want to do. Now, we pivot from that. Mary, let me ask you this then. When you think about managing your health care expenses, are you more concerned about managing the cost of doctors' expenses, hospital expenses, your prescriptions, recovering home after a procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for your family? In other words, leaving a legacy for your family. Which of these things concern you the most? Their answer will be their dominant buying motive. Just like when you got in that car to test drive it, you adjusted things before you took the car out for a test drive, didn't you? Some people adjust the steering wheel, some people adjust the seat, some people adjust the radio. You're going to help them adjust which things they use the most in the order they use it. The doctor's, hospital, prescriptions, recovering home after a procedure, and not leaving a financial burden to their family. In other words, leaving a legacy. So let's say Mary says, well, I want to manage my doctor's expenses. So we're going to use, so her answer is managing doctor expenses. We're going to use the tie-down question. And I'm going to show you how we use that tie-down question, and then we pivot to a trial close in order to help them build this product that we're then going to tell them what the price is. So when do you use the tie-down question? at the end of the sentence, right? You already know the answer to it. So already know the answer is going to be doctors, hospital, prescriptions, recovering home after procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for the family. I already know that's predictable. And there I'm using it to get an agreement on a small point. Remember, people buy on emotion or move to action by logic. I'm going to get an agreement on a small point. Again, I already know what the answer is. I'm going to get an acknowledgement from them that they understand and this is what they're interested in. And I'm going to show you how that works right now. So when you think about managing your healthcare expenses, Mary, are you more concerned about managing the costs of doctors, hospital expenses, prescriptions, recovering at home after a procedure? Notice the words I'm bolding here, or not leaving a financial burden for your family. In other words, leaving a legacy. So Mary said, well, I want to make sure all my doctor bills are covered. So here's the pivot. Here's the transition to the tie-down question. So, the word so is a transition word. It connects a result to the previous issue, a result to the concern. So, on any new plan you design today, you want to make sure all your doctor bills are covered. Is that what I hear you saying? So can you see where the tie-down is? Where's the tie-down? Is that what I hear you saying? What words are bolded? So, new, today. They're designing a new plan, right? They're going to replace their current health plan with either their group insurance plan or their individual health insurance plan. They're going to replace it with some kind of supplemental plan, right? And when did you want them to do that? Today, right? So, and then they want to make sure that all of their dominant buying motives, which they just identified, which is doctor's bills, are covered. And then we're going to confirm to them, remember, we use tie-down questions to get acknowledgement. We're going to confirm to them by using a tie-down question, and it's also a trial close. So on any new plan you design today, you want to make sure that all your doctor bills are covered. Is that what I hear you saying? Now, once you tie this down, don't revisit it. Don't make the mistake most salespeople make. Don't go back and revisit it. There's a time to sell, and there's a time to tell. Right now, we have been selling the problem. We have been getting them in touch with the emotional connection of prior issues, projecting how that's going to affect them in the future, and helping them adjust the solution to fit them. Once you close on this minor point, don't go back and revisit it. I'm going to show you how to pivot to the price here in a minute. We're not going to go through the whole close and the price. That's another training. I'll show you how to do that. What you do is you go right back to the original question, leaving out the benefit that they talked about. Now, let's talk for a minute about features and benefits. Everybody in sales has heard about features and benefits. I wrote an article on this a couple of years ago. You can go to lifehealthpro.com, type in Lloyd Lofton, or the name of the article is it a product, feature, or benefit for your client? Remember, a feature is what a product has or does. A benefit is why people want that feature. So, for example, if you're selling metal buckets versus plastic buckets, the feature of a metal bucket might be that it's metal. The benefit is that it holds heavier material, it's more durable, and it lasts longer. So I might say, John, let me ask you this. Are you looking for a plastic bucket that will hold your material, or are you looking for a bucket that will hold heavier material, is more durable, and lasts longer? And see how I described the benefits to them, not the feature. I described the feature of the plastic bucket, the benefits of the metal bucket. Remember, features are the language of logic. Benefits are the language of emotion. People don't catch logic. People catch emotion. So you want to sell the problem, and you want to tell them about the benefits. People catch enthusiasm. They don't catch logic. Features are the language of logic. So go right back to the original question, leaving out this benefit, in this case, doctor's expenses. Because you already closed on this minor point, you don't have to revisit it. Now, when you think about managing the rest of your healthcare expenses, Mary, are you more concerned about managing the cost of hospitals, prescriptions, recovering at home after a procedure, or not leaving a financial burden to your family? See, I left doctors out. Notice I used the word think about, like I always do. Now, here's why I use think about. I covered this in the handling objection class. If I ask you to think about something, what happens is that your mind goes into neutral. I call the gear shift of resistance. The gear shift of objection goes in neutral. And people are no longer thinking about objection to you. People are now listening for what you ask them to think about. So now, when I say, Now, when you think about, and I do that awkward pause there, people stop thinking about objecting and they listen to what you want them to think about. Now, when you think about managing the rest of your healthcare expenses, the rest of it infers we've already closed the fact that you want all your doctor bills covered. We already closed that. The new plan you designed today is going to have that. We're going to know that. We don't need to discuss it again. When you think about managing the rest of your healthcare expenses, are you more concerned about managing the cost of hospitals, prescriptions, recovering home after a procedure, or not leaving a financial burden for your family? Again, they're going to answer with their dominant buying motive. Remember, we said we're going to help people adjust this product so that they adjust the things they use the most in the order they use it. We talked about features and benefits. When they answer you, you repeat it back again. So on any new plan you design today, then meaning we're moving forward. We've already got the doctors taken care of. Now we're going to take care of this next one. Then you want to make sure all your prescriptions are covered. Is that correct? There's your tie-down question. Is that correct? It's also a trial close. Yeah, I want to make sure. So all your doctor bill or your prescriptions are covered. Okay, great. Now after you cover the 4 things that seniors are concerned about, you then close on a minor point. And the way you close on a minor point, and this is in my closing class, is, John, or Mary in this case, Mary, let me tell you, or if I'm sitting at the table with them, sitting in an office with them, John, let me show you how this works then. And in fact, if you're sitting at a table with someone and you say this, remember, you're Dr. D. You're the expert. You've diagnosed the problem now. Now you're prescribing the solution. If you say, John, let me show you how this works now, you will literally feel people lean into you when you say, let me show you how this works then. The word then is a trigger word. It's a cue. It will bring up a routine in them. They will lean forward to see how this works. That's how you know that you've got them emotionally owning the solution right now. That's the emotional side of it. Remember, people buy an emotion or move to action by logic. People buy an emotion and move to action by logic. So benefits is the language of emotion. That's the enthusiasm. And logic is the language of features. And now we're going to explain the features. So we've been selling the problem. Now we're going to tell what the product is. So John, let me show you how this works then. So I said there's a time to sell and there's a time to tell. Now we're going to tell about the product. So now you describe each feature as a benefit. You confirm this is what they designed, and then close and stay closed. If you have any confusion on features and benefits, go look at my article on there. Features are the language of logic. The benefits are the language of emotion. Features are what a product has or does. Benefits are the reason people want that feature. Your goal is to talk to them about the things they use the most in the order they use those things. And these things are not the product or the price. That's why we haven't even discussed, nowhere in this have I discussed a product or a price. I haven't even mentioned the word product to the prospect yet. I'm talking to them about their behavior and how they use things and the solutions they're looking for. So make sure you fully understand products and benefits. So here's what we're going to do. When I say, let me show you how this works then, now I'm going to tell them about Medicare. You have Medicare Part A and B. Medicare Part A is the hospital deductible. That covers you when you're in the hospital. Now, if you're hospitalized one night or longer, you're going to have to pay a deductible out of your pocket, $1,288. And that's for a benefit period of 60 days. You could have up to 60 days a year. Now, if you didn't have some kind of supplemental plan which you designed today, and you had to pay that $1,288, Mary, where would that come from? Where would you pay for that from? Would you pay for that from your monthly disposable income, from your savings account, from an emergency fund? How would you pay for that? This is where I get that engagement from them. Remember, you went in and talked to the car salesman. It's not about how much you're paying, but for which car, I mean, not which car you're paying for, but how much you pay for the car, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to illustrate to them the solution they designed today is going to cover all this. And I'm telling them how Medicare works. So I'm getting their understanding of this is how Medicare works, this is the potential financial exposure they have. And after I go through each of these over here and explain it to them and get their answers on this. Now this is 2016, I'll change the numbers when 2017 comes next week. Then I say, let me show you how the new plan you designed today was going to protect you from these financial expenses. With the plan you designed today, you're going to be able to go to any doctor, hospital, or clinic anywhere in the country that accepts Medicare assignment, and that's what you said you wanted to do, right, Mary? You're going to be able to show your benefit card, receive your medical care, leave, and never see a bill. Is that what you're expecting? See how that works? Here's how the plan you designed today will work. And then it's a very simple illustration. Part A deductibles, hospitalization, as we discussed earlier. When you get hospitalized for 1 night or longer, your out-of-pocket is going to be zero on the new plan you designed it. And I'm just going to go around the ring, and I'm going to show them exactly how their plan works. So what we did is we talked about using questions to find out what happens as they age. They get less healthy. We had them identify that when they get less healthy, their medical expenses become more expensive. We talked to them about why they use health insurance. It's for their worst health year. We talked about how they want to access health care, whether they need to manage their monthly disposable income. They don't mind paying a little bit out of their pocket when they go to the doctor or being in the network, or they won't be able to see any doctor they want to. We dropped them in a funnel, so we already have kind of an idea. In Mary's case, I already kind of knew this was going to be a Med Sup. And if it's a Med Advantage plan, I'm going to do the same thing on the Med Advantage side of it. And the close, you'll have to sit in on the closing class to do this. But what we did is we did not use the same approach that all other product hawking, price hawking salespeople use. We did not use the same script. In fact, we really didn't even have a script, although there's a script format for that in what I'm going to show you here in a minute. We didn't use the same presentation. The presentation was based on their answers to our questions, wasn't it? We didn't use the same close. We used a trial close after every tie-down question. So in any new plan you design today, you want to make sure all your hospital bills are paid. Is that what I hear you saying, Mary? See, I use a tie-down question and a trial close. So that makes me different. The consumer doesn't see me as just any other salesperson. They see me as Dr. B. And I want them to see me as Dr. B because they expect me to diagnose the problem and to prescribe the solution. And that's what we did. So what are the four main things that people are concerned about? Seniors are concerned about managing the cost of doctors, hospitals, prescriptions, recovering home after a procedure, and not leaving a financial burden for their family. And we can help them adjust the product to fit them with some very simple questions, some tie-down questions, and using a trial close and understanding their buying behavior. So let's just sum this up with the profile of that typical client. If you have a male turning 65, his wife on average is going to be about 62. We know what he's going to do. It's predictable. We know that as he ages into retirement, he's going to sign up for Social Security. He's going to automatically be enrolled in Medicare. And we know that 80% are going to get a supplement. The time you have the most influence is when someone's buying from you, when the policy is delivered, or when you're doing a service call. That's why you should package final expense with it. We know that when he repositions the money he already has in his budget that they're paying for health insurance, that they've been paying for 30 years, age $12,000, maybe $16,000 a year, through work, a group plan, or an individual plan, we know he's going to reposition $1,500 to $2,000 of that to pay for that supplement, and you're going to have money to package a final expense with it. We know that his wife's going to need her own standalone health plan. Maybe it's a critical illness and accident rider with it. We know that a few years later, she's going to age in Medicare. We've captured the wallet share, and we're going to get her as a customer. We already know what their family income is going to be on average, and we know that her Social Security is on average. We already know what the lifestyle issues are going to be as they age. We know that statistically, the wife is going to be left after the husband passes away. Women live longer than men. And she's going to have an emotional decision to make, either to keep his Social Security or keep hers. And when she chooses, which most of them are going to do, 80% are going to choose the husband's Social Security. When she chooses that Social Security, she's also choosing his death to live on $10,800 a year more, less. And that's why it's a perfect time for you to package a final expense. When they realize that, when she realizes that she's giving up for $100,000 over a 10-year period, perfect time for her to have a cushion that first year he passes away is to have that final expense on him. So what we talked about today are some of the lessons that you can get in seven-figure sales tools. I'm going to give you an offer here. You're going to be able to go to seven-figure sales tools. You see at the bottom of your screen, the website, sevenfiguresalestools.com. You can click on My Script. One of the lessons you're going to get, it's going to get you inside here to the website as a member website. You're going to be able to click on the content. Now, I do this training all the time for a lot of different organizations. Lorman is one of the biggest ones that I do it for. When I do these trainings for Lorman Education, let me show you what they sell my course for. If you go through just one of the webinars, like we went through today, which didn't cost you anything. If you went through this exact same webinar with Lorman, it would cost you $99. I did Perfecting Your Inside Sales Methodology for them back in April. They had me repeat it in October. The webinar itself was $99. If you look at the second line here, if you wanted the audio and the reference manual that went with it, you'd pay an additional $99. They offer a $30 discount for that. You'd pay $168 out of your pocket. But you're not going to pay that here. In fact, when you check out there and you just buy the webinar, you pay $99 for Lorman. I told you that I did another one for them in April, and now they're pushing that out again. This email just came out yesterday. They discounted it to $79. But if you want the audio and reference manual, you're going to pay $99 for it, plus the $79. So you're not going to pay that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 courses. The 2 courses are going to be Basic Selling, which covers a lot of the principles that we've talked about here today. Principles like people buy on emotion and move to action by logic. Principles that cover the questions. Principles that cover some of the objection issues. There are 14 lessons in that course. The other course you're going to get is the Sales Scripts course. There's 22 lessons in that. Now, I've added a couple of scripts to this before I actually made this offer. So right here it says that there's 2 courses with 26 lessons. There's actually, if you look back at this, 14 in the Basic Selling, 22 in the Sales Script. That makes 36. You're actually getting 36 lessons and 18 videos. You're going to get all that for just $19. So this is a great opportunity. Insurance WebEx is a great service. I've worked with these guys for years. I really respect what they do. I think the value they bring to the table is incredible for everyone. And I just want to be able to give back and help people have a better year next year and make myself available to you. So an additional thing I'm going to do for everybody, I want to thank you as a thank you for being on this call today, the 4 things seniors are concerned about, and we talked about how to eliminate objections. The other thing I'm willing to do for you guys is for everybody who buys the course today, the 2 courses, the 36 lessons, and the 18 videos, everybody who buys that today for $19, you just go to 7-Figure Sales Tools, click on My Script, and this is the page you're going to get. When you click on My Script, this is the page you're going to get. Everybody that does that, once you make your purchase, if you go back in and click on Book a Session, email me your script, and I will schedule a 15-minute coaching session with you. No additional cost. I will critique your script, put the corrections I make or the comments I make in bold and red letters. I'll send it back to you. We'll have a 15-minute session, and I'll go through your script with you. So I'm just doing that over the next 48 hours. Anybody want to sign up for that? Get your course for $19. Go back to 7-Figure Sales Tools. 7-Figure Sales Tools. Click on that link that says right here, My Script. This is the page that's going to come up. Just enter your email address, your name. Now, the reason you want to enter your email address is you're going to get your receipt, and then you're going to get an email with your ability to make your own login, create your own user ID and password so you can log into the site. You put your credit card number in there, click Purchase. You don't need a coupon code. You're right about that, Frank. I should have said that before. You don't need a coupon code. But you're going to get 2 courses. Those courses are Basic Selling. There's 14 lessons in there. It covers a lot of the principles we talked about today. The Sales Scripts, there's 22 of them in there. Medicare Supplement, appointment setting scripts, life insurance scripts. I've got a couple of scripts in there from other industries so you can see the psychology of putting scripts together and see how that works and put all that together. You're going to get 2 courses for $19. And so you just go to 7-Figure Sales Tools right here. Click on My Script. For everyone who makes this purchase in the next 72 hours, after you make your purchase, click Book a Session. Email me your script. Click Book a Session, and then pick a day and time, anytime between now and January 10th, and I will schedule a 15-minute call with you, and I'll go through your script with you, and we'll see if we can't help you have a better presentation and get more openings and get more appointments for next year. So remember, one of the main courses you're going to get is 22 scripts. These are Medicare Supplement presentation scripts, They are scripts on how to get the appointment. There's scripts on setting the appointment. There's scripts on life insurance. There's scripts from other industries that I work with that show you how the principles we talked about today with tie-down questions and the trial closes work no matter what industry a person's in. They're super effective. So let me just see if I can have some questions. You know, I apologize about that if you click that My Scripts link and you have a problem with that. But there is no code you need to have. Just go back in and do that again, Chrissy. It should work for you. Yeah, you're correct. There's a bunch of courses, and there are 20 courses, 546 lessons, 177 videos, and no, it doesn't cost you $2,500. Now, I do sell the entire membership site, so I have separate webinars I do for that, and that entire membership site is $19.97, but that's for all 20 courses, and that's not what I'm offering you today. I wouldn't expect that from you. I'm just offering you some lessons and 2 courses that are specifically relevant to what we talked about here today for $19. And I think that's going to make a big difference for you. And I want to make the opportunity available for you to be able to send me your script and get some individual coaching from me. So I appreciate that question, but no, you don't have to pay the $25. Yes, you're correct on that. That is a one-time cost. That's not $19 a month. That's a one-time. You pay that $19 and you're a member inside the site. Other things you're going to get inside the site are my blog posts. You're going to get invites to members-only webinars, which I do twice a month. So you're going to get access to webinars that other people don't have access to. One of those webinars I do each month, I take questions from participants, and I'll answer your questions in real time. That webinar is nothing about anything but answering your questions. And we'll go through some principles on that, but that's a members-only access to it. But that is just $19 a month. So anyway, listen, I realize the mind the rear can only endure what the mind can only endure what the mind can only comprehend what the rear can endure. I know we've been on this call for a long time. I appreciate you taking the time to be away from your family. I know you gave up the opportunity to earn a commission to be on this call. This is recorded. Everybody's going to get a copy of this recording in the next 24 hours. So I'll tell you one more time, just go to 7-Figure Sales Tools, just like it sounds, 7-Figure Sales Tools, right here at the bottom of your screen. I see some people have already been making the purchases. That's great. I look forward to working with you. Enter your email address and your name, your your zip code, your credit card number, the expiration date. You do not need a coupon code, and that's be $19. Don't forget that's the CVV code on the back of your credit card. $19, you're going to get 2 courses, 26 lessons, 18 videos. You can go to book a session, send me your script, and we'll have a 15-minute coaching session for free. I'm including that in here. And I look forward to working with you. You've got my email address. It's on the invite. So I'm going to stop the recording and end the call. Appreciate everyone's time. It was great working with you. Keep following forward, and make sure that you're Dr. B in 2017.